Alright, camera bag tour. We are going to be going over everything that is in this bag. Let's get started. Starting off with the front pocket here. Immediately we have some cleaner that needs replaced, to be honest with you. Here we have a compact flash and SD card reader. Here we have the charger cable for the R5. Nope, the R100. Here is a USB-C cable. And then we also have a micro B cable and another USB-C cable. And I believe that's it. This reader also has USB A and C already on it. Getting into the bag here, when we open it up, there we go. Had a logistical issue with the arm being in the way here. Opening up the bag here, we see we have a phone, which this is actually a placeholder. That's my personal phone. This phone goes there, and it does all my video recordings. And honestly, if I need a second video shot, I just use this one or my S9 because they can both do 4K, no problem. Yeah, this is the microfiber cloth that I use for everything. It's also just in there to keep the phone protected. In the pouch over here, it is just camera straps and the wet bag for the camera bag itself, and some spare caps. Getting into the main bag here. Oh boy, where do we start? Let's do a little bit of suspense and get to the bodies after we go through this pocket right here. In this pocket, we have this right here, which is just extra bits for the straps. Let's see here. We have another microfiber. Have another eyepiece for the 5D. Here we have a charger for the 5D. Yes, 5D Mark III. This is the charger for the R100. Some alcohol pads for the lenses if needed. Here we have an extra SD card, just something to throw in there in the event that I need it, as well as a coin for tripod mounts. Little lanyard bit. Power brick, in case I need to charge the phone or anything else that's on me. Some AAA batteries for the microphone that I forgot to say is also in this pouch up here. Moving on here, we will go ahead and get to the bodies, and I think for someone with a budget in mind, I have kind of the best of both worlds here. So we'll start off with the older one. This is my Canon 5D Mark III. Absolutely love it. Big, huge camera. I love what it can produce. Once I've learned how to use it, you know, for the most part, there's still bits and stuff here and there that I can learn, but finally have it set to the program setting with a bunch of my favorite stuff. Because I mostly shoot trains, but I also do some stuff outdoors here and there while I'm fishing in the event that something comes by. So yeah, 5D Mark III. I got this one for $300 flat because I had some issues. I still need to get the proper dial up top for it. This is just kind of a plate that I've double-sided taped on there for the moment. It was missing the eyepiece. That was easy. And then the joystick here is gone, but I just taped over the part that was exposed. And you can still use this and this for navigation. Yeah, still works fine. Love this camera. Works great. And it's a full frame. So, you know, if I got some real low light stuff going on, or I just, you know, feel like using a full frame DSLR, this is the guy I go with. And then, of course, you know, have the battery, nice big battery. I've never had an issue with it running out of charge. And even if I did, you know, I just get more. As far as storage in this one goes, we have a 128 gigabyte, 120 megabyte per second compact flash. And I shoot both JPEG and RAW. Yes. In here is the R100. I like the R100 because, you know, we have the option of the big full frame DSLR and then this tiny crop sensor mirrorless camera. Now, why did I go with an R100 instead of, say, an M50 or an M5? Well, number one, Canon learned a lot from the EFM series, and I just figured going with an R series camera that has current lens support would probably be a good idea. Not that the M50 or the M5 cameras are bad. You know, I just felt a little bit better going with something that has had some time to develop, some time, a whole product range to learn from, right? Okay, so we went with an R100, and honestly, in my mind, the R100 is a beginner camera that is designed to compete with the 5D. Roughly the 5D Mark III. Maybe more like a 5D Mark II. Both of these cameras have their pros and cons. Some stuff one camera does absolutely better than the other one. Now, the reason I made sure to get a crop censored mirrorless camera, I found this for $350. Like new open box, by the way. So both of these cameras I got for a somewhat similar price. Just quickly go over this, I suppose. In here, we have our 128 gigabyte SD card, as well as your battery. So far, I haven't had an issue with this battery yet. We'll see if that continues as far as like runtime goes, because mirrorless cameras do draw more power than DSLRs, but we'll see what happens there. As I was saying, the reason I made sure to get a crop sensor mirrorless camera is because most of my lenses are crop sensor. And this is because I built up most of my lenses for this guy right here, my Canon T5i, which I still bring with me in my lens bag as a backup body in case I need it. Another thing I needed was a camera, a mirrorless camera that would allow me to use EF lenses, as again, that is what pretty much all of my collection is. So this here, I know it says Tamron, that's just the cap that I had. This here is a Canon RF to EF lens mount, and it works flawlessly. Very happy with it, and it just lives on the camera because I do not own any RF lenses at the moment. Getting into the lenses here, let's go ahead and start off with crop sensor, I suppose. Let's go with this one here. This is a Tamron 18 to 270 millimeter f 3.8, 3.5 to 6.3. Now, this lens I had gotten with the T5i. Not entirely sure if I would have gotten this lens on my own, but what I will say is, when it comes to shooting telephoto trains, I do like this lens a lot. It's very blue on corners towards the edges. Very much willing to admit that. But for shooting trains via long distances, you know, I love how it looks like on social media or on a smartphone or something where you're not zooming in, where you're just looking at the photo. I do like this lens. Very versatile. Very versatile. I mean, it's 18 to 270 millimeters. And the image quality is okay, other than the blue corners. It's a decent lens. Let moving on here to this Sigma. This is a 10 to 20 millimeter. Really like this lens for wide shots. It's 10 millimeters is just wide enough to where you get a lot of range, way more range than the human eye, without a crazy amount of fisheye. I genuinely like 10 millimeters a lot. Kind of wish I had tested out the Tamron 10 to 24, but still like this lens. It's decently clear, decently sharp, decently smooth, and Sigma is pretty good. You know, this being my only Sigma lens that I've been able to test, fairly happy with Sigma so far. You know, when you're looking at all the stuff I have, I'd like to have you keep in mind that I am not a professional at this at all. I am just a hobbyist, and this supports a bunch of my other hobbies. I'm not trying to get super expensive stuff, right? I'm just trying to get stuff that looks decent on a phone screen. Okay? Alright? And these two produce nice colors, and they can produce much better photos if I had better lenses, but again, I'm just trying to get stuff that looks decent on a phone screen or a computer screen, okay? And, you know, Discord and Instagram and Facebook and YouTube and a bunch of other stuff is just going to compress your files down anyway, right? People aren't going to be looking at my raw photos, right? Okay, so just keep that in mind when you're looking at this. You're not looking at a professional setup, you're looking at an enthusiast setup. Moving on here is this beefy lens. It is thick lens. I love this thing. Once again, a crop sensor lens. This is a Tamron SP 17 to 55 f2.8. Love this lens in lower light situations. It's f2.8 through the whole zoom from 17 to 50 millimeters. Love this lens. This lens is great. If you're looking for a $100 lens, feel free to test this one out, right? And if you don't like it, just resell it, okay? And honestly, if you're trying to find deals on lenses like me, you can probably resell it for a little bit of profit, then level up to something else. Yeah, love this lens. So those are my 3 crop sensor lenses in this bag. Now we will move over to the full frames. Starting off here, we will go with the most disappointing of them. This is an old Tamron. This is an old Tamron 28 to 300 millimeter. And if you need the focal length, it's okay. You know, I had gotten this just to have a full frame lens with a bunch of range, but I do not use it that often. You know, if I'm going for that kind of range, I just use the R100 with this lens here, right? Okay. It's not that sharp. The colors are okay, but it's not that sharp. It's kind of dull. You know, it's not that great of a lens, to be fully honest with you. Got it for 75 bucks. You know, it's okay at that price, but definitely nothing to write home about. It also has a UV filter on it, because it'll fit onto this one, but when I go to put the sunshade on it with the filter on it, the sunshade kind of gets in the way of the lens a little bit, and that's not a fun thing. So yeah. Speaking of sunshades, this one has a sunshade. If we go into here, this sunshade screws onto that one because I can't seem to find the proper sunshade to go on that one. Unfortunately, really wish I could. This one fits onto that guy, and then this one fits onto that guy. I also like the UV filters just because it gives your front glass a little bit extra, that just sits in that one. it gives your front glass a little bit extra protection. In the event that something comes flying towards you, you know, hopefully if something cracks, it's your front glass and not, or it's your filter and not the lens for your or it's not the front glass for your lens. There we go. This one here is a Canon 28 to 135 millimeter. This is more so just a stand-in for an L series 24 to 105 or something like that, or something equivalent from a different brand. This is not the permanent lens for this. This is just what I'm using for now until I can get the stand-in. Again, enthusiast, hobbyist, not professionalism. And this lens does produce okay pictures. In the middle, it's nice and sharp. The further out you get, there's a little bit of color fringing. Again, not something you're going to notice on Instagram or Discord or anything like that. Got two things down in here. Here we have a Canon Nifty 50. Right, okay. Good lens. If you want a nice, sharp lens that can take great photos for under $100, get one of these. The best ones to go for are the STM ones, but this Mark II does good as well. Just don't drop it, because if you drop this one, probably isn't going to work. Also note that this one specifically is for a full frame lens, so if you put this on a crop sensor, it's going to be more like 80 millimeters, but it's still going to take great photos. This one here is an EF2X teleconverter, and it does exactly what it says. It doubles the focal range of your lens. So this 50 millimeter turns into a 100 millimeter. You know, this 28 to 300 turns into a 50 something to 600, etc., etc. They are good tools to have, but just note that they mess with your aperture, right? So that's your f whatever to f whatever. Messes with your aperture, messes with the quality because now it has more glass to go through. Messes with how much light comes in. It messes with a bunch of stuff. Can also slow down your autofocusing and possibly not even have the autofocusing be functional, depending on what camera you're using. Good tool to have, but they can be very iffy. Eventually, this will get put into the other lens bag whenever I get a 24 or 40 millimeter f2.8 EFS lens that I can throw on the front of this guy to have a nice small compact size, because this is nice and compact. It is, but it runs at like 80 millimeters because of the 1.6x focal thing for running a crop sensor camera with a full frame lens. But yeah, that is it for this bag. Now we will move over to the lens bag. This is a secondary bag that I can carry around if I want more options. Now, to be completely honest with you, these three pockets here will probably change a bit if I get more lenses. Mostly because these are a bunch of vintage lenses, as you will see here in a minute, and they might go into their own bag if I get more lenses, and it kind of overflows a little bit. Starting off here is another cheap tool that I had gotten for 35 bucks. This is a ProMaster Spectrum 7 100 to 400 millimeters, and it is a piece of work of a lens. It is ancient. Pictures are kind of on the blue side. It is not that easy to take pictures with. You definitely have to be extremely still. but it's a cheap tool that I was offered for 35 bucks. And with the teleconverter, autofocus still works with the teleconverter, by the way, which is wild. But with the teleconverter, you got 200 to 800 out of this thing. Yeah, cheap tool, you know, barely gets used, but it is nice to have when such a thing is necessary. We're going to slowly slide that back in. Here we have the camera that had made an appearance earlier. This is my backup body T5i. This was given to me by someone who's very important in my life. So it is never going to leave. Might get retired and put on a shelf at some point, but you know, it's a T5i. It's an 18 megapixel crop sensor DSLR. It's not going anywhere. If it needs to be a stand-in, if a battery dies and I can't charge that battery or whatever, or if both battery dies for that fact, you know, just if something goes wrong, I have it ready to use if needed. It's got a battery inside, it's got a 120 gigabyte micro SD with an adapter inside. Not the best thing ever, but I mean, if the camera goes down, I'm swapping SD cards anyway. Charger for the 3 T5i batteries that I have. 2 here, 1 on the camera. This is just another charger. It's just wall plug instead of those. As well as this is the caps for the RF. Caps for the RF mount. There, again, they live in this bag because they never separate in the other bag. Here is the standard Canon EFS 18-55 kit lens. If I use any of these cameras for recording, it will be with this lens, as due to it being, is it an STM? It should be. Yeah, due to it being an STM lens, the autofocusing is very quiet. So if I record with any of the cameras, it would be with this lens. However, recording with the 5D, you have to focus it between. It can autofocus between shots, or you can manual focus. You know, it will not autofocus while you're shooting on the 5D. T5 will do it, 5D will not. Let's see here. Okay, so this is a EF to MD adapter. This is for my collection of vintage Minolta lenses. So have Minolta mount there, then Canon EF there, and this first one, this is a 28mm MC, so this is the older ones. Full metal build. Love how these lenses can take photos and such. I love how they all turn out after you dial in what you need for each shot, of course. This is just another UV filter, again, just to protect the lens. What else do I have in here? What is this? Oh, yes. This is 2 3D printed extension tubes. Manual focus, of course. There's no electronics going through, but I do have 2 of them in here. Next up here is this one here. This is a Minolta MD. What is this? 35? Yes, 35 to 70 millimeters. So there is your zoom. There is your... Sorry, this is your zoom. This is your focusing. And then that is your aperture. it's a decent one. Still the nice Minolta glass, but it is the later MD models with the all plastic housing. And last but not least, for the lenses here, we have a Minolta MC 135 millimeter. Lots of, it's a long focusing ring. Definitely allows, it's a long and smooth focusing ring. Definitely allows you to get to where you need precisely. Lots of room for adjustment. Then of course you have your aperture ring. Nice big focusing ring. Have a filter on this one as well, and then built-in sunshade. Love that. And then last but not least here, the final item in this bag. And that final item is this camera here. An Olympus SP320. 7.1 megapixels. 8 to 24 millimeter f2.8 to 4.9. This was my first camera that I had gotten like 15 years ago, something like that. Little did I know how decent it actually was. Now, compared to today's standards, not that great. But, yeah, I keep it in here just to take photos here and there. It takes an XD card, which is interesting. One of Olympus's standards. 120 or 512 megabytes. And yeah, just a fun thing to have in the bag. Later on, if this stuff gets yanked out, this will be in here probably with some extension tubes. Don't know, we'll see. Or this will get thrown with these lenses elsewhere. We'll see what happens. Maybe the extension tubes will go into here. I don't know. But that's it. That's all I have for you guys. Thank you guys for watching. If you made it the whole way through, please like and subscribe. Feel free to leave a comment if you would like. Any kind of engagement helps with the algorithm. So, thank you guys for watching, and we will see you in the next one. Have a good one, guys.